My name is Zach Coco with Minarik Drives, and in this video we're going to show you how to wire up the MM301U using an input signal. Before we wire up the drive, we're going to set the input and output voltage switches. The first one we'll look at is the armature voltage. It's factory default set at 180. We're going to move it to 90. Now the input switches, which are factory default set at 230, but we're using 115, so we'll switch both of them over to 115. Next, we'll look at the input signal switch. It's factory default set at voltage, and since we're using a voltage input signal, we're going to leave it. But if you're using a current input signal, you'd want to switch it over to current. And last, make sure that the feedback switch is set to armature feedback. The first thing we're going to connect to the drive is the motor. These leads will go to A1 and A2. The next thing we're going to wire up is the 3-wire start-stop switch. To wire this up properly, you're going to need a normally open switch for start and a normally closed switch for stop. So we'll take our normally open switch and we're going to wire up to B1 and B2. Now we'll take our normally closed and wire this up to B2 and B3. If you didn't want to use the 3-wire start-stop switch, you would simply place a jumper between B1 and B3. This would enable your drive as soon as you apply power to it. Next, we're going to connect our input signal leads. We're using a power supply as our input signal, so we'll connect the common to S1 and the high lead to S2. This is the same whether you're using a current or a voltage signal. Next, we're going to connect the power leads to L1 and L2. This drive has two positions for L2, one designated for 115 volts AC and one for 230. We're using 115, and then we'll connect the second lead to L1. Now that we've double checked to make sure everything is wired properly, we can apply power to the drive. We're going to go over a quick test procedure now to make sure everything is working as intended. The first step is to apply a voltage signal to the drive to make sure it's not in enable mode until we hit the start switch. So we'll hit the start switch and reapply the voltage signal. We can see now the drive commands the motor to rotate. We'll test the full voltage range now, which is 0 to 10 volts for this drive. So we'll apply all the way up to 10 volts. And now test our stop switch to make sure the drive commands the motor to stop. We'll one last time try our start switch. And everything seems to be working properly. Thank you for watching this wiring demonstration brought to you by Minarik Drives. If you have any other questions, please feel free to visit us at www.minarikdrives.com or call one of our application engineers at 815-624-6950.